So I got this space mission in the other day. I just started going into it and tell you a little bit about what it's doing. So I got the play field sitting out here on the floor. So when you turn it on, boot it up, you'd hear a low grade hum like a coil was locked on. Turns on, the coils weren't locked on. There was 2 or 3 of them. I'm not sure which one. I think it was a player reset. It was buzzing, but it wasn't buzzing in. It was buzzing out. It was buzzing out, not buzzing in. So it had a little bit of voltage, a little bit of current, but it wasn't enough to pull it in, just enough to make it vibrate in the out position, which is very strange. These things are binary. They're supposed to be either all the way on or all the way off, everything. Either the 24 volts is getting here or it's not. But a little bit was getting there, which is very strange behavior, possibly dirty switch or something. I hope that's all it was. So, I start off with these, like always, go through and check the fuses. The fuses are all snug. Of course, they were the wrong fuses, so I put the right fuses in there. Haven't cleaned the Jones plugs yet, but I will. Let me show you one here on the floor. So, I don't know if you can tell. If I get this to focus, I'll put it on the floor. Somebody has cleaned these at some point, not real recently, but they cleaned the outside edge. They basically ran sandpaper. Django, get back. They ran sandpaper on the outside here. Unfortunately, what you need to clean is the inside edge between each of these, because that's where they make contact. If you look real closely here, keep you in the same orientation. Just steal this plug here, and that goes in. You can see it grabs it on the front there and in between. So it's the hardest place to clean. That's where you actually need to clean these things. So I haven't cleaned those yet. I'll clean those. Go through and adjust all the switches. If you haven't ever seen this before, it seems daunting. Like, how do you know how to do it? It's actually pretty simple. Grab the relay, operate it with the metal part, not the plastic part, because that's the way the relay is going to do it. And each one of these switches, if it's normally like that one, where is normally closed, it should open. That one's normally open, it should close. And when it closes, the other switch should move. That's a make or break. So it's one that's normally closed, and then the one that's normally open, it closes. So basically, clean each one of these points and make sure that they're all operating. So I went through this whole thing. I found the same thing on this motor. So the motor turns around and it operates these switches up and down. So as those switches go up and down, just make sure every one of those normally open closes and normally closed opens. I found 2 switches in here that were misadjusted, so that could have been part of the problem. The 2 really troubling things I saw, though, are first, this whole stack has been resoldered. These are not factory solders. You can tell by the way that they are. The ladies at Williams did not make some. Now, some of them are factory solders. You can tell, like that one. Let's see if I can get my finger. That is a factory solder joint. Those down there are not factory solder joints because they look like crap. The solder wasn't hot enough and just didn't do a good job. So somebody took this apart. That's a lot of effort, and the downside of taking it apart is if you happen to get one of those wires in there backwards, very hard to diagnose. So I'm hoping that's not the case. The other really weird thing is this wire. This wire doesn't belong on here. I have a Space Mission at home, so I looked at it, and it does not have this wire. So this was disconnected when I got this game in. So I don't know if somebody had at some point somebody put this in. I don't know if it broke off or somebody else cut it off, but it's still there. I'm removing it from the source. It's going away. But when you see hacks like that, or compensating for something else, it makes the diagnosis more difficult. So that's where I'm at so far. I haven't touched the playfield yet. That'll be next. I'll put it back together and see what we've got.